serving you a dose of wisdom and humor with a dash of radiance. Welcome to Biscuits and Sunshine with your hosts, Callie and Landra.
Hey y'all, pull up a seat at our table for your next serving of Biscuits and Sunshine. I'm Callie.
And I'm Landra. It makes me hella happy to have you here with us. We're recording this from Distant Sport Audio Studios in Athens, Greece. Welcome to episode 16, Deca Exi. Pame, let's go.
Let's go!
Woo woo! On today's episode, we'll be talking about all things fall, as the season is upon us. We've been noticing the sun is setting a little earlier each day, and finally a slight breeze is starting to cool off the city.
I feel like we're finally able to live a little bit more outdoors now.
Yes, we're not hiding indoors with AC and fans everywhere we go.
Well, I'm still carrying a fan because it is slightly warm, but it's not as warm, so I'm very happy.
Same. And earlier this year, we talked about just changes of seasons as it related to spring. And if you'll remember, Callie and I shared some of our favorite things about the seasons changing. So in that same spirit, Callie, what are some of your favorite things about living in Greece during the fall season?
I do think there is this sort of reemergence back into the world because July and August are so hot. People aren't out as much. Like, I'm not walking to you, I'm not walking to Olivia as much. But when the season changes, I feel like, oh, okay, the world is livable again. So I really like that. I know we've talked a lot about how I feel we're more connected to the change of season. We feel it more. We're walking all the time. We're outdoors all the time. I don't have a car, so whether it's cold, hot, rainy, windy, like I'm feeling all of that every day. And for me, fall is such a welcomed breath of fresh air.
Agree with all of that. What's interesting, I was thinking about, summer, everybody, there's an excitement. You're outdoors, but people leave the city. So even some of your friends you might not see for a while. So what I'm feeling this fall season is now everybody's returning and there's more of this gathering, which it kind of aligns with the fall season when you think about, kind of harvest and gathering and community. So I'm really loving that.
Reunited and it feels so good. Yeah.
We've just been singing jingles all morning.
All morning, hyping ourselves up for this.
Oh my goodness. So thinking about the fall and of course, what's coming up, Halloween, Thanksgiving, all those things. Just curious, what are some things for you when you think about that? Maybe thinking back to the US, what you miss.
I do miss the celebration of Halloween.
Yeah.
I really like Halloween, not the horror, gore, witchy scariness, but like the joy that Halloween brings. Like, I'm one of those people that I really like to dress up, and that's just not a thing here. We don't do Halloween in Greece so much. They dress up more for the carnival season and Apokrias.
Yeah.
But not Halloween, and so I haven't been able to do that. And
there are some bars and places that kind of decorate. It's more like in the touristy areas, but yeah.
I would go to work on Halloween day, like my friends and I in the office, we would dress up. I would be mortified to ride the metro here dressed in costume.
Oh, of course. They'd be like, what's wrong with this girl?
I would be mortified. So it's just culturally the embrace of that, because truly for me, October starts my favorite time of year.
Yeah.
From October until from February, to me, there are so many opportunities for people to come together, to gather. There's more of a focus on gratefulness and community and love. So for me, this 6-month run, I'm all for it. What about you? Is there anything that you really miss about fall in the U.S.?
I mean, it's funny because I'm sure if you dig around, you can definitely find pumpkin. But like the other day, we were talking about pumpkin spice lattes. That just feels like, Starbucks really kicks that off in the US, which is kind of funny because as years have gone on, I'm kind of not a Starbucks person at all, unless I'm caught in an airport and I really want my coffee and that's all we have. But you reminded me I could just go down to the Starbucks here in the center and get pumpkin spice latte. But I'm like, But pumpkin pie, I do love so much. And just all the food of like Thanksgiving. It always goes back. You said this in previous episodes, like the warmth of like memories are around food and gathering. And yeah, I could think back to some wonderful memories actually, which is so great of, spending time with family and all those different meals we had. But pumpkin pie, you said the other day that you can make it. And I'm like, what? And thankfully, my sister-in-law is coming to visit, so we've asked her to bring canned pumpkin filling
We'll do a review on the
from
next
US.
podcast.
I love it. Yeah. So yeah, definitely will.
Was sweet potato pie a thing for you in your neck of the
I've
woods?
had it, but doesn't do the same for me.
I remember there was this boy that I liked. I was in my mid-20s, and he was like, yes, sweet potato pie is so great. And I was like, oh, I make a great sweet potato pie. I'd never made it in my life. But sure as I'd made it, and I did it so well. It didn't work out for me in the end, but I did learn something.
Oh my God, you're funny. I'm just noticing this. We had a dinner party the other day, and you had made a phenomenal cheesecake with caramel sauce, and you don't really like cheesecake.
Yeah, I don't. It hurts my stomach. For me, it's more about the reason to gather. And I know that cheesecake is something that a lot of people sort of shy away from making. I happened to find a really great recipe years ago that I've been able to memorize and make my own, so it's very simple for me. The one thing that I really regretted about the cheesecake on Friday, I made caramel sauce, but I'm doing it in a nonstick pan, and so the butter is not burning, so it never browns.
Oh, that's why it was a light color.
I was like, oh, this is blonde caramel sauce. It tasted great, but it just didn't look right. And so for me, I'm the queen of making something I've never made before for the first time to serve to other people. It's like, I'll do it. Sure, let's try this. And
oh my
so
gosh.
that was one example of how it doesn't always go as planned.
Oh, you see, you're so sweet. You're such a good hostess. You're like, I don't really care for it, but I'll do it for everybody else.
Yeah. It's also probably a conversation maybe around boundaries as well. If I'm not enjoying the food. No, I had such a good time Friday night.
You did.
Guys, you were sitting on the floor because my house is small and I don't really have enough chairs for everybody. So everybody just gathered on the floor on that beautiful rug I bought in Morocco. It was like one of those, my cup is so full moments.
Beautiful moment.
I want to send the photograph that we took. I want to send it to my friends in Morocco to say, like, look at the memories being made on this rug.
That's really cool. They would love it. Yeah, because how often do people, circle back?
Follow up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, and I'm just thinking, the other thing I am aware of is like, with everything, there's season, we talked about moving here, how that definitely helps us feel more in tune with the cycles and the season. But just thinking about, the ending of one thing and the beginning of another. So really have soaked in, and I've been doing this in some of my teaching of like, what are those warm summer memories to really imprint in our mind and really take note of? So when or as times start to get cold and we start to maybe feel like a little bit more like hibernation inside, away from others, that we can recall in our mind. And so the slowing down, I think, is also, there's a beauty in that too. And so just thinking about that, I don't know if you're feeling that like sense of slowing down, and what routines, if any, are you putting into place for the fall season?
I do feel the slowdown when fall comes. It's interesting. Physically, I feel the slowdown. Like from a work perspective, I think work ramps up when everyone comes back from summer holiday.
Sure.
But in my body, I can feel as the sun sets earlier, because I, in a past life, must have been a farmer. Because the moment the sun sets, I start to get sleepy. So like my sleep space sort of expands in the fall and winter because there's more darkness. I feel my body start to ground more in that, which I really enjoy. It's interesting you talk about holding on to warm memories, because in Milos, in Tripiti, on the last day of August, they light the fire. And people jump over this fire. It's a big sort of party in the platea by the church. And the reason they do this is to prepare for the coming winter and to hold on to warmth and to remind themselves like of the hardship. But there's always sort of that cyclical return to warmth in the end. It's very interesting how modern day, ancient times, all these things sort of follow the same path.
For me, I am really starting to get excited about bringing out some of my more cozier blankets, like some candle lighting in the evening. Like you said, it's getting darker, so why not, bring out some nice candles. Flipping the closet.
Oh, yeah.
The sweater weather's coming out.
Sweater weather. I am a threat. I'm a threat to buy a blanket anywhere I go. And
you are.
I think I have 4 blankets I've bought in the last, 5 or 6 years. Because I have this dream one day that every one of my children will sleep under a blanket that I bought abroad.
Oh, I love this vision.
Well, we'll see. But I have all these incredible blankets. I only have one bed in my house. So when the weather changes, one goes over the sofa, one
Yep.
hangs over the chair, one's on the bed. I rotate it out for another. I really love that part of the coziness of fall.
I love that. Now you're making me think of like, I need to come over again.
Oh,
We
yeah.
watch a movie.
We'll wrap
and, like,
ourselves in blankets.
Yes, yeah.
It'll be great.
Have a warm beverage. Ooh, I'm really engaging in a lot more tea drinking, I've noticed too. I still love my coffee, but I don't know. There's something about the teas that have, the ones I'm gravitating towards are like licorice and cardamom and
Chai.
some chai, yep, for sure. But
Like the old school traditional chai.
yeah, like the warm, like spicy, I think is what you're, that kind of goes with like the pumpkin lattes too, kind of, yeah. So it's like,
Oh, okay. Now that I know this, I'm going to bring you some of this incredible chai that I found.
Okay.
It's like, to me now, it's like fall in a tea bag. So I think from a fall perspective, we talk a lot about the impact of nature on us. Tell me, is there something that you're experiencing? Because I know you love to get outside. I know you love to hike. I know you love to be in nature. What does that feel like to you as the seasons change, to still be out there and watch fall and the end of harvest happen in the natural world?
Yeah. I've been definitely loving getting in my usual park. I haven't been yet, but I will be going up to the mountain nearby, Lake Havitos, which I've talked about often. It's just taking note. I think it's just noticing how the leaves are changing colors and like they're starting to fall away. This is also the season that I lost my dad, and the last month that he was in the hospital, this neighborhood I was in Northern California, it had all the different colors of the leaves. And, this is also kind of the cyclical time of the year, thinking about, death and rebirth. And so I remember really being in sync with seeing what I've noticed. And there's just like a real tenderness about being and a real noticing and being in nature. And I think there's also, that's where, everybody's going to be different, but for me, my dad passing on, that's where I feel connected to him, is in nature. So for me, nature brings up a marker of time, marking that it's been a year. So it can bring up those memories. I can flash back to where I was, but then also it gives me a new feeling as I'm here in this point in time, in this new place. And yeah, so that's what I think nature has really been teaching me lately. And I think just, as part of growth is spiritual growth, maybe, is the act of continuing to learn to let go, continuing to let things every day. I think there's a realization that we die a little bit and we're born a little bit. So I think it just comes back to that. It reminds me this time of year more than ever of letting go, but then also seeing things with fresh new eyes and being born again.
There's this Bible verse you just reminded me of. The Protestant in me is starting to show. I can't remember where it is, but it's something like, outwardly we are wasting away, but inwardly we're being renewed day by day. And you can take that for however it means, but for me, that renewal inwardly comes from several places.
Yeah.
It comes from learning. It comes from engaging in things that make me feel whole. It comes from being grounded in nature and understanding that it is all one big cycle.
Yeah.
We will constantly relive this, and there's such beauty in that.
Yeah. And it's like, how do we just let it like pass through us and not fight it? And I think the other thing I was going to say, add to that list you just mentioned, I love that verse so much, is also about renewal, but also it comes in relationships. Yeah. I mean, I feel like that way in our relationship. I've learned so much from you, and I see a different perspective. And I like to think that I live that way in everybody that I come into contact with. Even if we disagree, I might be like, oh, well, that taught me something about myself.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think we're both continuous learners, and we learn from everything around us. So what are some of the things in learning, like what are some of the things that are top of mind for you as we end this year?
I love that you asked the question, or you framed it in a way that you said what's top of mind for you versus like, what are your goals? Because I feel like what I'm noticing a lot in conversations and online is this push of like, and that's exactly what it is, a push of like, we have 3 months left, knock it out. What did you say you're going to commit to? And then I know that feeling of, because of all my years in retail, like that, it can be a beautiful time of year, but it feels like there's just so much to get done in this last kind of compressed amount of time. So Yeah, that's exactly it. I think is just letting myself be more in the ease of this last 3 months. And I think that just comes off the heels of the year I've been through, the healing, whether it be grief or whether it be physical ailments that I've had with my shoulder. So I am just in this place of like not trying to overpack my schedule, really coming back to like, do I want to do this versus feeling like I have to and like approving or performing. And I also think it comes back to, I'm just so, it's funny. I've been in this place of like, oh, I've had less work. So that creates a little bit of anxiety. But in the space of, or having space, I'm recognizing this is a good time to kind of focus on all those things I wish I could have time and space for when I am busy. So what I mean by that is just stepping away and doing things that are more nourishing to my body, back on routines, movement, time for meditation more consistently because I've been really inconsistent, writing more. So really I think what it is I'm trying to figure out or just experimenting with allowing my days to be lengthy and more space and more ease and more because I know that will be in service of setting myself up for a good new year, whatever that is, or just setting myself up for a good holiday season.
I remember at the beginning of the year, one of the words that you picked was like expand.
Mm-hmm.
And that sounds like a great manifestation of the word expand.
Yeah, I hadn't made that connection, but absolutely. Yep. It was feel. Oh, it's so needed to feel. To feel it all is just, not for the faint of heart. And in that feeling, I think it's led to the expansion. And then the third word was create. And hello, this is one of the things we have created.
I think you've done really great with all three of those words this year. You've really leaned into them, which is something that is very inspirational to see.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's nice to hear that back because sometimes, especially when it's a little bit more challenging, I'm like, why did I choose this?
I take it back.
I know. But I do, those are the things I remind myself in challenging times, like let this be of service to the future me or to the future others in some way that I will impact and touch. So that's what helps get me through those times. So yeah, it's interesting you say that.
I like this idea. Yeah, for sure. I like this idea of letting it be in service to the future me. Because when you think about fall, I know we joke all the time, like neither one of us is an actual farmer or knows a lot about planting. But when you think about fall, for me, it's always in the context of like reaping and sowing. And if what we do today is in service of our tomorrow, then that's a perfect example of sowing seeds, of sowing ideas and activities and practices that will come to bloom and blossom in the right time in our future lives. And we're really reaping the benefits of the work that we put in today.
Sowing the seeds of love. You know that song? Tears for Fears. Oh my God. I don't know why. I can't help myself.
We should reach out to everyone whose songs we sing on this podcast.
I know, right? So silly. And then tell me, what is it for you these last few months as you end the year? What you are calling in?
I feel like something has happened to me in the last few months where I'm giving myself permission to take up space. I've jokingly called it like my chaotic era, where I am always so focused on how others feel around me and like making sure that people feel supported and embraced and welcomed. But I will no longer do that at the expense of myself. So for me, top of mind is like, where have I been playing it small? Where have I not been allowing my full presence and my full creativity and my full self to shine through? And so that's sort of what's top of mind. I'm writing a book. I have like a very real goal to finish this book by the end of the year. And I feel like the more I talk about it out loud, the more people hold me accountable.
Yeah.
And we want that. So like I want this idea, sort of it like expanding, but also just sort of being fully present
Yeah.
in all of my skills and in all of myself. I want people to know that. And I want to be able to like claim that for myself.
It's like focus is the word that comes up to mind or comes to my mind.
Yeah. Because like I can want to write a book my whole life, but if we talk about this, where we are more externally motivated, you know? So like if my friends say, well, how much progress have you made? Or like, I'm really excited to read, like, are there some chapters? I'm probably a little bit more apt to do a little bit more work than if it's just living in my head.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very excited about the next 3 months.
Oh, I love that. I'm so excited for you.
Thanks, friend. You know, I also don't think we can let this conversation about fall go without just talking about how, for whatever reason, whether it be commercial or cultural or whatever, people do put a little bit more focus on gratitude, on thankfulness. Maybe it's because as the weather cools and winter comes, we instinctually want to draw closer. Like we call it cuffing season, right? You want to cuddle, you want to find somebody to pair up with, you want to spend the long winter nights not alone. I think that there is this beautiful focus, speaking of focus, that I want to bask in. I want every day of every year to be one where people can feel supported and drawn toward gratitude. Because you say all the time, gratitude is a gateway to abundance. And I feel like that's one thing we're both constantly sort of focused on and trying to call into our lives. Fall really is the season to fall back into ourselves.
I agree. I think it, hopefully it is with the slowing down that we start to see the abundance, as you mentioned, I talk about around us. So it is like this, I don't know, I feel like when everything's like outwardly moving and sunny and, it's like we're always kind of looking outward and almost in a sense of kind of like, maybe it's just me, but like maybe not, but like this like wanting more or getting or taking. And this actually turning inward is around a little bit more intentionality of like noticing what we have and perspective taking and a little bit more time for reflection, I guess, if you will. Yeah. And taking note of what's there. And with that, our hope for you this week is that you take some time to get cozy and just really reflect on where you are at this point in your life, at this time in your life, in this season, and what is it that you are noticing that is abundant in your life?
If you love what we're serving up, be sure to subscribe and rate us on your favorite streaming platform. Also head over to Instagram and give us a follow at Biscuits and Sunshine, all spelled out.
And we'd be so honored if you share this podcast with a friend.
This is Biscuits and Sunshine with Callie and Landra.